Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really looked at your life? Not the filtered version you post online, not the one you explain to your friends, but the one you live quietly behind closed doors. What if I told you that in the next 10 minutes, you could begin to see your entire life differently? Not because you change your circumstances, but because you finally decide to face yourself. These next 10 minutes could be the most eye-opening of your life, not because of what I'll say, but because of what you'll feel. Because deep down, you already know something in your soul is ready to wake up. A few years ago, I met a woman at one of my talks. She told me she had everything: the career, the marriage, the house. But every night, she cried quietly in the bathroom so no one would hear. When I asked her why, she said, "I don't even know who I am anymore. I've spent so much time being who I should be that I forgot how to be who I am." That's when I realized most of us don't live our lives. We perform them. We wear masks of strength, of confidence, of success, while underneath, we're aching to be seen, to be held, to be enough. And that's where the real awakening begins. In the moment you stop pretending, you can't heal what you refuse to feel. That simple truth, as uncomfortable as it sounds, is where everything begins. Awareness is not about judging yourself, it's about finally seeing yourself. Most of us live on autopilot, moving from one distraction to another, hoping that if we stay busy enough, the ache inside us will quiet down. But it never does it? It lingers. It whispers in moments of silence. It wakes us up at 3 a.m. and asks questions we don't want to answer. Awareness feels like standing in front of a mirror with the lights turned all the way up. Suddenly, you see everything you've tried to hide. The fears, the insecurities, the regrets. But what if I told you that seeing those things isn't the problem? What if it's actually the beginning of freedom? We're taught from childhood to avoid pain, to suppress it, to smile when we're breaking. We learn how to fake fine. We learn how to look composed while everything inside us is trembling. And because of that, we lose connection with the only thing that could truly heal us: our truth. There's a reason awareness feels so raw. It threatens the identity we've built around being okay. But the moment you admit, "I'm not okay," something sacred happens. You open the door for healing to walk in. You give your pain a voice instead of letting it rot in silence. It's not weakness, it's emotional honesty. And emotional honesty is one of the most courageous acts a person can ever practice. Think about it. Awareness is not just seeing what's wrong, it's understanding why. It's recognizing the patterns you repeat because they make you feel safe. It's noticing the people you chase because they reflect how you secretly see yourself. It's realizing that the chaos around you often mirrors the storm within you. Awareness doesn't come to punish, it comes to reveal. And what it reveals, you can finally change. So many of us spend our lives running from awareness because we fear the pain it will bring. But what if pain isn't the enemy? What if pain is a messenger, telling us what needs love, what needs attention, what needs forgiveness? When you stop numbing and start noticing, you realize that awareness doesn't destroy you, it awakens you. There's a beautiful paradox here. The moment you face your discomfort is the same moment you start to find peace. Because when you truly see yourself, not the image, not the role, not the story you tell others, but the real you with all your flaws and fears, something extraordinary happens. You begin to understand that you're not broken, you're human. And being human means being beautifully unfinished. Awareness isn't about fixing yourself, it's about meeting yourself. It's saying, "Here I am, messy, scared, imperfect, but still worthy of love." And once you reach that level of truth, life starts to feel lighter. The masks begin to fall away. The striving quiets. You no longer chase validation because you finally recognize your own value. You can't heal what you refuse to feel. But when you finally allow yourself to feel it all, you begin to live from a deeper place. A place of honesty, a place of courage, a place of peace that only awareness can bring. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your real life begins. We grow up believing that vulnerability is a weakness, something to be hidden or overcome. We're told to toughen up, keep it together, and never let them see you cry. And so we build our armor, thick, shiny, unbreakable. We smile when we're hurting, laugh when we're lonely, and pretend we're fine when the truth is we're falling apart. But what if everything we've been taught about vulnerability is upside down? What if the moments we think make us weak are actually the ones that make us powerful beyond measure? Vulnerability is not about oversharing or seeking pity. It's about allowing yourself to be seen fully, honestly, and without a mask. It's the courage to say, "I'm scared," "I don't know," or "I need help." It's showing up when the outcome isn't guaranteed and still choosing to give your heart. Most people spend their lives avoiding that level of exposure. We hide behind perfection because it feels safer. We think if we can appear strong enough, smart enough, or confident enough, we'll finally be loved. But the truth is, connection doesn't happen where we're perfect. It happens where we're real. Vulnerability is where courage is born. Think about it. Every great act of love, every leap of faith, every meaningful connection you've ever had required one thing: the willingness to be vulnerable, to risk rejection, to face uncertainty. To say, "Here I am, all of me," it's terrifying, yes. But it's also where life begins to feel authentic again. You can't experience deep connection while keeping your heart locked away. You can't grow while staying guarded. There's a reason vulnerability feels like standing naked in a storm. Because it is exposure. You're revealing the parts of yourself that you've been taught to hide. The messy, imperfect, too much, not enough parts. But that exposure is also freedom. The moment you stop pretending, you start breathing again. You stop managing people's perceptions and start living in truth. I've seen it in the strongest people. The leaders, the parents, the survivors. They carry an air of peace, not because their lives are easy, but because they've stopped performing strength. They've learned that real strength doesn't come from pretending you're invincible. It comes from admitting that you're not, and still standing tall. Vulnerability is strength in motion. It's bravery that breathes. When you allow yourself to be seen, you give others permission to do the same. Your honesty becomes a safe space for someone else's truth. That's the magic of vulnerability. It creates connection. And connection is what heals us. It's the antidote to shame, to loneliness, to fear. It's what reminds us that we don't have to carry our pain alone. The paradox of vulnerability is this: the very thing we fear will make people pull away is the thing that draws them closer. Because when you speak from your truth, others recognize theirs in your words. Your openness builds bridges where walls used to be. And that's how healing begins. Not through perfection, but through presence. So the next time your heart starts to tremble, when you feel that urge to retreat, try doing the opposite. Lean in. Speak the truth you've been swallowing. Let someone see you. Because you will realize something beautiful. Your vulnerability was never your weakness. It was always your superpower. It's the heartbeat of courage, the foundation of connection, and the pathway to a life that finally feels real. We all carry stories inside of us, stories that shape the way we see ourselves, the world, and what we believe is possible. Most of the time, these stories are invisible. They run quietly in the background, dictating how we respond to love, failure, fear, and hope. Some of them were written by others, parents who told us to be realistic, teachers who said we weren't enough, or experiences that convinced us we should never try again. Over time, those stories become our truth, even when they're not true at all. The mind is a powerful storyteller. It doesn't just describe reality, it creates it. If the voice inside your head keeps saying, "You're not enough," your actions will start to align with that belief. You'll stop taking chances, stop speaking up, stop reaching for more. You'll mistake your self-doubt for self-awareness. But here's what most people never realize. You have the power to edit the story. You can decide what parts to keep and what parts to rewrite. You can challenge the narrative that has kept you small and choose one that sets you free. Think about the things you say to yourself every day. The subtle criticisms, the quiet comparisons, the rehearsed fears. Those words have power. Your inner dialogue can either build you or break you. If you keep feeding yourself the language of shame, "I'm not worthy," "I always mess up," "no one ever stays," your mind will believe it, and your life will start to reflect it. But when you start speaking truth instead of fear, "I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm enough, everything begins to shift. Changing your story doesn't mean ignoring the past. It means giving it a new meaning. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every loss, they're not proof that you're broken. They're chapters that taught you resilience. The pain didn't come to destroy you, it came to shape you. The mind loves to replay the moments where we failed or were rejected because it's trying to protect us. But protection without purpose becomes a prison. At some point, you have to tell your brain, "Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I'm ready to live again." The stories we tell ourselves become the limits of our potential. If you believe you're unlovable, you'll push love away. If you believe you're destined to fail, you won't even try. But the moment you realize that these are just stories, not facts, you reclaim your power. You start writing from a place of truth, not trauma. You begin to speak to yourself like someone you love. And that's where the transformation begins. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about telling the story differently. Instead of saying, "I lost everything," you say, "I found myself." Instead of, "I was abandoned," you say, "I learned to stand." When you rewrite your story with compassion, you start to see that you were never broken. You were being rebuilt. You are the author, not the character trapped in someone else's script. You can change the tone, the direction, the ending. You can stop living as the victim of your past and start living as the creator of your future. Because the truth is, the story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. And when you finally tell it with honesty, courage, and love, that's when you begin to live a story worth telling. Pain thrives in silence. The more we hide it, the more it grows. We live in a world that celebrates independence, where we're taught that needing help is a sign of weakness, and that asking for support means we've failed. So we isolate. We smile when we're hurting. We say, "I'm fine," when our hearts are quietly breaking. And in that isolation, our pain festers. It turns into shame, into loneliness, into the belief that we are unworthy of love or belonging. But connection, real, soul-level connection, is what heals what isolation hides. When we share our stories, something powerful happens. The walls we've built to protect ourselves begin to crumble, and for the first time, we realize we're not alone. Someone looks back at us with tears in their eyes and says, "Me too." And in that moment, the weight we've been carrying starts to lift. Because the truth is, healing doesn't happen in hiding, it happens in honesty. When we speak our pain out loud, it loses its power over us. We are wired for connection. From the moment we're born, our brains and hearts are designed to seek belonging. Yet somewhere along the way, we confuse connection with approval. We start performing for acceptance instead of showing up as we truly are. We edit ourselves to fit in, even when it costs us authenticity. But connection isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about being seen not as who we think we should be, but as who we actually are. The most beautiful relationships, whether friendships, families, or communities, are built not on the absence of pain, but on the courage to talk about it. When someone says, "I've been there too," it bridges the space between two hearts. It reminds us that struggle is not a sign of weakness, it's part of being human. The moment you let another person witness your truth, your shame starts to dissolve. Because shame can't survive empathy. It can't live in spaces where love listens more than it judges. I've seen people transform simply by being heard, truly heard. No fixing, no advice, just presence. That kind of connection doesn't erase the pain, but it changes its shape. It turns it from a wound into wisdom. It helps you carry it differently, not as a burden, but as a reminder of your strength. We all need someone who will sit with us in the dark without trying to turn on the light too soon. That's what connection does. It doesn't rush healing, it holds space for it. It says, "You don't have to go through this alone." And when we offer that same presence to others, we become part of their healing too. Maybe that's why loneliness hurts so deeply, because it goes against the very nature of who we are. We're not meant to do life alone. We're meant to hold each other, to witness one another's stories, to remind each other that love still exists even when everything else feels lost. So, if you've been carrying something heavy in silence, let this be your reminder you don't have to. Reach out. Speak your truth. Let someone see you. Because connection doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it from something that breaks you into something that builds you. And maybe, just maybe, that's how we all begin to heal together. Every day, each of us faces a choice. The choice isn't always dramatic or obvious, but it's there nonetheless. The choice to keep living in fear or to step into courage. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when your heart is heavy and your spirit feels weak. It's in getting out of bed after another sleepless night. It's in showing up when your soul wants to hide. It's in saying, "I'll try again." Even after failure, heartbreak, or disappointment. Courage is choosing to begin again, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. We often think that starting over is a sign of weakness, a mark that we weren't strong enough the first time. But in reality, choosing to begin again is the highest form of strength. It's proof that you are resilient, that your spirit cannot be broken, and that your heart still believes in the possibility of growth, love, and joy. Every time you summon the courage to try again, you honor yourself and your journey. You tell your past pain, "You do not define me." You tell your fears, "You cannot control me." And in doing so, you reclaim your power. Courage is not about perfection, and it's certainly not about knowing the outcome. It's about showing up with your whole heart, even when uncertainty is the only guarantee. It's stepping into the unknown, trusting that the act of moving forward, even imperfectly, is what matters. Every leap, every small step, every whispered affirmation of hope builds momentum. Over time, those small acts of courage compound into a life that feels alive, authentic, and purposeful. Think about the moments that shaped your life most profoundly. They weren't always the moments of comfort or safety. They were often the moments when you felt terrified, unsure, or overwhelmed. And yet, you moved forward anyway. That's courage. That's the quiet bravery of choosing to begin again. It's the willingness to risk being hurt, misunderstood, or disappointed for the chance to grow, to love, and to thrive. There is also a profound beauty in acknowledging that courage is not always loud or visible. It doesn't always get recognized by others. Sometimes, courage is simply the act of forgiving yourself for yesterday's mistakes and standing tall despite them. Sometimes it's allowing yourself to feel grief, loss, or regret without letting it define your future. True courage is compassionate, patient, and resilient. It sees the hard truth of life and still chooses hope over despair, action over inaction, and love over fear. And here's the most important part: courage inspires courage. Every time you face your fears, every time you choose to begin again, you give permission for others to do the same. You become a living example that life doesn't end with failure, heartbreak, or loss. It begins again, over and over, whenever we choose it. So, no matter where you are today, whether you feel stuck, lost, or broken, remember this: the power to begin again is already within you. It doesn't matter how many times you've fallen. What matters is that you keep rising. Because the act of beginning again is not just an act of courage. It's an act of love. Love for yourself, for your dreams, and for the life you were always meant to live. And in that courage, you discover something extraordinary. You are stronger, wiser, and more alive than you ever imagined. If this spoke to you, don't scroll away. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Ask yourself, what mask am I ready to remove? What story am I ready to rewrite? Because your awakening doesn't start with a big moment. It starts now, with awareness, with vulnerability, with courage. This, right here, could be the most eye-opening 10 minutes of your life. Don't let it just pass by. Live it, share it, and begin again with your whole heart.